We do want to bring in Seth Berenzweig, attorney and managing partner of Berenzweig Leonard, to speak more about this case. Seth, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
My pleasure.
So, question number one, I think on top of everyone's mind is, what can we expect from these closing arguments?
Well, we know pretty much where the paths will go in terms of the outlines for the arguments. Fani Willis's office will say that there's nothing prohibited about having an interoffice romance. It happened in 2022 after he was hired, and that all of the trips, all of the luxurious excursions were situations in which the costs were roughly split. So therefore, there is no financial conflict of interest for the prosecutor in this case. But the other side will naturally argue a couple of things. There's basically two issues that they will latch onto. The first is the issue of timing. When did the relationship start? There's some pretty compelling testimony that indicated that the relationship started well before Ms. Willis has asserted, as well as argued by Nathan Wade. So I think that that is something that really bears a lot of very serious questions and credibility. And also there's the question of the payments. In this instance, again, it's a little bit curious because all the payments that she allegedly compensated in to make sure that it was roughly split and she didn't have any kind of a financial outcome and gain were in cash, and therefore we don't have any real bank records. So they're really going to have a knockdown, drag-out fight in court today. There will not be a ruling. Judge McAfee will probably take it under advisement, but I'm sure we'll have a decision in the next couple of days.
It is interesting, and I'm sure the judge is very seriously weighing both sides. We, of course, can't ask him how he is going to rule, but when it comes to the testimony provided and the evidence outlined, where do you think the outcome might lie?
I think Terrence Bradley was one of the most critical witnesses in the case. He is the former partner of Nathan Wade. And not only was he a former friend and a former legal and business partner, but he was also former legal counsel for Mr. Wade in context of representing him in the context of the divorce case that he had at an earlier point in time. And you'll recall that Terrence Bradley felt very strongly initially when he was brought onto the stand a couple of days ago. He did not want to testify, and he said, look, this is privilege. Their relationship encompasses attorney-client privilege. After that got overruled, he went back on the stand. The problem with this witness was that there is a slew of texts and messages going between him and attorney Ashley Merchant, who is legal counsel for Michael Roman, but also is one of the lead attorneys that's pushing this motion for disqualification. And it looks like Terrence Bradley really just kind of flipped the switch. There's a litany of communications and texts showing that he was all in to try to support the motion disqualification. And then at the last minute, he suddenly got amnesia, and he was an incredibly uncooperative witness. His lack of credibility just sank right down to the bottom, and it really looked like he was basically trying to conceal things. I don't think that helped Fani Willis. I think that the prosecutor's office looked like they were clutching defeat after the jaws of victory. This motion that started out as a long shot is going to end up as a photo finish, because the real issue at hand was whether Fani Willis had any kind of a financial conflict of interest. But if you have alleged perjury, and if you have lack of credibility, and then if you have a lack of business records with regard to the key financial transactions, this is really going to end up being a photo finish, if you will. And it's really difficult to say where this case is going to land.
So, of course, there are two potential outcomes, right? The judge decides that Fani Willis will remain on the case or decides to remove her. If the judge rules to keep Fani Willis on the case, how could that impact the Georgia election interference case?
Well, if she's kept on the case, then I believe that there shouldn't be a delay other than what's already happened. And by the way, it's already been a delay of a couple of months with this whole circus. So to the extent that Mr. Trump is not exactly having any problems with delays on criminal trials, he's already kind of won in one respect. If she's kept on, there may be, and probably will be, an appeal, but it's not clear whether that appeal will necessarily trigger a hold or a stay on the case unless that is requested and granted. So what will happen is that other than the basic 2-month delay that's already occurred, we may have a trial that the special prosecutor will try to bring on later this year. From a timing standpoint, that looks very much up in the air. It's very difficult to say. It will also have some kind of an interplay with how long it will take Judge McAfee to make a ruling. But quite frankly, I think that it won't take him much more than about a week or so.
Before we let you go, Seth, is there anything else that you would like our viewers to really pay attention to as we are just about 20 minutes away from those closing arguments?
Yeah, I would really look to how much Ms. Merchant and the other co-defense counsel really just try to slam Terrence Bradley. He was a terrible witness. He was purposefully uncooperative. I think they're going to slam him. And I think the other distinction they're going to make is they're going to say we don't have to only prove an actual conflict. We can prove a potential or an appearance of a conflict under the rules. And when you look at the entire circus of the inconsistent testimony, I think they're going to try to ring that bell as well when the hearing takes place later this afternoon.
It will be interesting to see. And again, as you mentioned, a decision not likely to happen today, but we shall see what the judge decides to rule. Seth Berenzweig, attorney and managing partner of Berenzweig Leonard, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
You bet.